Hello, welcome to another episode of the Love Fruit podcast. Today we have a interesting guest. We're speaking to Austin, who's also known as Bliss on Instagram and YouTube. He's been a fruitarian for 6 years. He helps people with health coaching, and I believe he has a book as well. So we'll learn more about that. Austin, do you want to say anything more about yourself in introduction?
Hello, everyone. My name's Austin, and I'm from Seattle, Washington. I spent about 6 years now on a raw vegan diet and primarily living foods. I like to promote that as well, not, a lot of dead nuts and seeds and stuff. And I spent 3 years traveling Asia, searching for the best fruits in the world. And also wrote an ebook about my travels and how to travel on a budget. And now I want to help people who are living in, kind of a difficult place to be fruitarian. I want to help them start a fruit-based diet. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much. So, Austin, you were talking about growing up, coming from Seattle. Did you grow up in a pretty conventional diet and lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely. I was actually obese most of my life. I was 230 pounds at my heaviest. It was like 105 kilos, I believe. And yeah, I was addicted to drugs, heavy weed smoker for like 8 years, and going to a lot of like parties and just not like living my best life. I was very depressed, and in Seattle it's raining like 10 months out of the year, so it's not like the most inspiring place to be, and it's easy to fall into like addictions. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and diet wise, was it pretty much meat, dairy, bread, butter, all the usual stuff?
All the standard stuff. I used to work at Jack in the Box, which is like a popular fast food chain, and I would just eat like pepperoni pizzas and like tacos, hamburgers, like all the junk.
And growing up, apart from obviously you mentioned being overweight, but any other particular health issues that you experienced?
Yeah, I used to have severe cystic acne. I used to have asthma. I was allergic to like every animal, pollen. Just like I was so sensitive to a lot of things.
Yeah, allergies, acne. Yeah.
For sure.
So, so when did you first make the connection that to start changing your lifestyle?
It was at a really dark place in my life where I was, abusing drugs, and I pretty much just hit rock bottom. And I remember coming across a YouTube video from Dan McDonald, the Lifer Generator, and I just remember seeing this guy who's like, I don't know, he's like in his late 40s or something, and he's just looks like a little kid. He's like jumping around with all this passion, and I'm like, I want to get like that energy level. So I tried just eating fruits for a week, for 7 days, just fruits, and I fell in love with the energy it gave me, the clarity, the focus, like the digestion. And after those 7 days, I just kept going, and I started doing a lot of juice fasting and different things like that. And it just I've been raw like ever since then.
Did you notice benefits straight away?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what were the main things that you were noticing that time?
My skin started clearing up. My depression just like went out the door. Like my moods started getting better, and I just started like to value life more. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So it sounds like one of the things you were noticing, it changed your mood, it changed how you felt about yourself and about life.
Definitely.
Interesting. Why do you think that happens?
I feel like when you treat yourself like well, like when you do healthy things, then you start to see like the good in the world. It's like, as they say, as within, so without,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So you went from like pepperoni pizzas and tacos and stuff, and you immediately started going on fruits, like just complete change?
It was pretty fast. I did go vegetarian for like a month, and I was eating like a lot of Chipotle, like burritos and vegan junk food for like a month, and then I went straight into it.
Wow, that's really quick.
Yeah, and I honestly I wouldn't recommend it to a lot of people because I had a lot of severe detox symptoms.
Yeah, talk. What kind of symptoms were you experiencing?
Uh, well, I actually had cysts on my skin that would like like big cysts that had like pus like erupting out of my skin, and I think that's because my kidneys weren't filtering, and the skin is the largest eliminative organ, so just started coming out my skin all the toxins that I've given myself my whole life.
Sure. And did you kind of figure this out yourself, or did you have teachers you were following? Who were the people you were following or learning from?
Yeah, I was researching a lot at the time, because in Seattle it's raining and you don't really have a lot to do, so I was researching, and I was watching Dan McDonald, John Rose, Ted Carr, Fully Raw Christina at the time, Freely the Banana Girl, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But Dan McDonald and John Rose in particular were like the biggest inspirations for me because they've been doing it a long time. Oh, also John Kohler, OK Raw, he was really big. But yeah, I just tried to take as much information that I could from all these people and just started experimenting with it. Like I was very careful not to take anything as dogma, because I think that's very easy to do. Like pick one person and they're like, oh, this, I want their results, so I follow exactly what they do. But I was very careful to experiment on myself. I think that's really important.
So, how easy was that transition for you from that previous lifestyle to raw vegan? How long did it take for you to sort of get rid of like cravings for other things? Did you ever go back and forth and so on?
Yeah, I never went back and forth. I don't know. I've always been a very kind of headstrong person. So, but the cravings, I definitely was getting cravings. But what I would do is I would just eat more fruit. I would just eat a lot of fruit, and that's one of the things that I think people make a mistake often. Like they'll undereat on fruit, and that's definitely. I mean, I've definitely done it in my journey too, and that's definitely where I've ran into problems. So the cravings went away after like I'd say 4 or 5 months, and then I started craving fruits and vegetables because that's what my body was like building on.
Nice, nice, nice. So you, what was like a typical day at that point at the start? And say, I guess you were still in Seattle at the time. So what was your typical routine at that point?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it depends on the season, but I was usually doing like a juice in the morning. I was working at this like health food store, and they would have like some bruised apples, for example, and I would make like an apple juice every morning. And I used to love starting my day with either a juice or like some melons, something really juicy. And then like for lunch, I would have like a lot of bananas or like something calorie dense, like maybe mangoes. Um, and then for dinner, I would have like a big salad with like a lot of avocado.
um, and so I'm just thinking like this was it's pretty amazing what you did. Did you have anyone around you doing it with you? Did you have any friends, any support?
not, not really. I never really. I've always been kind of a loner,
Right.
and it's just been like. I mean, working at the health food store, I met a lot of people. not like coworkers, but I met a lot of people, like customers that would come in, and they inspired me. And I just met a lot of people online as well that like started a community on Facebook at the time, before Instagram, and yeah, they really helped inspire me to like to do this. It was really cool.
So I believe that you ended up traveling at some point. I'm not sure when, but do you want to talk about that and some of the places you've been, and how far into it did you start to sort of go other places?
Yeah, I think I was raw for like 2.5 years in Seattle, which was not easy, to be honest. I figured out how to make it work, and that's like what I talk about in the book. But the I knew that like I had to go somewhere, because I started watching Fit Shorty on YouTube, and I was like, man, I gotta go somewhere where the fruits are high quality, because that translates into my health being a fruitarian. And yeah, I just saw them like in Bali, and they were traveling for the durian season, and then I started seeing like Lindsay from Durian Writer, and I'm like, man, I had some frozen durians at the time, and I had one that was just like amazing, and I was like, man, I want to try like fresh durian. And that was one of the reasons why I booked a one-way ticket to Bali. So there was some other reasons, like getting, like, I thought it would help with my drug addiction, because in Washington, weed is legal and it's very easy to get. And yeah, just kind of getting out of a toxic environment. So I booked a one-way ticket to Bali, and I just had the most amazing experiences while I was there. And then I kind of followed what they call the durian trail. So like every couple months, wherever durian was in season, I would go to Malaysia, I would go to the Philippines, I would go to Vietnam, Thailand, and then just following the durian trail, having like the most amazing experiences, meeting a lot of like-minded people as well along the way. And then I went to India for mango season, which was kind of underwhelming, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, it's oh, and also like after 2 years of traveling Asia, like pretty, every couple months I would go somewhere else. I started running out of money from my savings, and I had a friend that was in Vietnam at the time. She was teaching English there for a couple years, and she told me, like, you can go to Vietnam and you don't need a degree. Like, as long as you're a native English speaker, you can come here and like just teach and make like $14 an hour. And I'm like, that sounds pretty good, and I can live in Asia. And so I did that, and I fell in love with the kids. I was teaching kindergarten and 4th and 5th grade. And then I fell in love with Vietnam, and like the fruit and vegetable quality there was incredible. One of the biggest things about Asia is like, or one of the biggest downsides, I'd say, is like the vegetable quality is like pretty lame. So like Vietnam is like one of the only places where I've found like high quality like greens. It was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Vietnam as well. I've been in Vietnam a little bit. I think it was Thailand for fruit, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, something I wanted to go back to just before coming back to your travels. You mentioned weed being legal in Seattle and other places. What do you think about that? Because you mentioned it makes an environment where it's sort of easier to get it and things like that. And some people think that some of these drugs are sort of can be part of a healthy lifestyle and things. What's your thoughts on all that?
Personally, I don't think it can be a part of a healthy lifestyle. I don't think ingesting any smoke is healthy at all. Any type of smoke. But I do think that like if you're addicted to something, you'll find a way to get it. It doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal. So yeah, it definitely, it did help me because like in Bali, I didn't know anybody who had it, and it's like illegal. You could go to jail. Um, I don't know. I feel like it helps me. Yeah.
Right. Um, so what were some of the highlights of your travels? Like you went on the Durian Trail. Any reflections of where some of the best places were, where the best durian is, so on and so forth?
Yeah. I mean, just besides durian, real quick, in Bali, I was going waterfall hunting because that's like my favorite. Like even beyond beaches, like waterfalls are like my favorite body of water. So I
That's so
started going.
weird. Do you know it's so weird, Austin?
Yeah.
Literally this morning I went to a waterfall. Like that's something that I do as well. That's so weird. Like, I literally just came back from one when I started this interview.
Amazing. Yeah, so like Bali has the best waterfalls that I've ever seen. And can you hear me all right?
Yeah, sorry, it paused a little bit there. Yeah, okay, we're back.
Good now?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. They have like these like cascading waterfalls, like wide and like very unique, like different waterfalls that I was traveling around, and that was one of the highlights for sure. But yeah, for durian, I would say Borneo, hands down, was the most special because they have these wild durians. Like they're actually a different species. Like the ones we know in the stores are like called Durio zibethinus is the variety or the species, and then there's a different species called Durio graveolens, and there's even like Durio dulcis and all these different species that you can only find in Borneo because it's like a wild. It's one of the last of the rainforests with the wild fruit. So like very ancient,
right.
non hybridized fruits. And yeah, I had this durian, and it tasted like a Reese's peanut butter cup, and it had like a thick frosting like texture. It was just like unbelievable.
That's what people don't see with fruit because they're so used to some of the other fruits and they don't realize how amazing the variety is. And if more people were to choose to eat fruit, then more and more of these amazing fruits would be more and more available to us. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, durian's pretty special in terms of the different flavors that it can have. Um,
for sure.
yeah, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people talk about Borneo, exactly what you're saying, like just varieties and things they've never tried before, they've never seen before.
Yeah, I want to say like beyond durian, like Borneo is very special. There's this fruit called dabai, which it's only in season like a couple months out of the year, but it's like a black. It's not an olive, but they call it a jungle olive. It's a different species. But the texture is like a creamy mashed potatoes. It's very fatty, like avocado kind of, but the flavor is like intense herbs, like eucalyptus, like sage or like rosemary, like thyme, like just crazy. Each tree would have like a different flavor because it's a wild fruit. And there's some other things like you can only get in Borneo. Like there's pulasan, which is like if people know rambutan, it's like a wild rambutan. It tastes like tropical fruit punch. Like there's just so
Wow.
many things. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so Borneo is a real place for the rare fruit lover, I suppose.
Yeah, but the thing about Borneo is you have to make sure you go there during fruit season. It's only a few months out of the year. I made the mistake of going there in like October. The fruit season's like December through March, I believe, is like the best time to go. And I went there and I was like only eating papayas and like red dragon fruits. Like I love red dragon fruits. They're amazing. They're in Asia, they're really sweet. Most people don't get the sweet ones, but that's like all I was eating there. And I was like, okay, this is kind of boring.
Yeah. So when was it you came back home? Were you out there for quite a few years in Vietnam?
Yeah, I actually, it was about 6 months ago, I believe. I came here in September, and the reason being like I said, I was teaching English, and the schools closed due to COVID, and so I was pretty much out of job. I wasn't making any money, and I remember I had like $500 in my bank account. I'm like, I got to do something. So I always wanted to do like woofing. It's
Right.
it's like yeah, it's like a work trade on organic farms, and I just started like researching options and like where in the world would be a good place to go during this kind of time that we're living in. And I saw Florida, and I actually had some friends here as well, and it seemed like a pretty good place for a fruit-based diet, and because I'm in South Florida. I wouldn't recommend anywhere north of like Miami, or in particular the Homestead area. This is like the farm district.
Yeah.
Even if you go north an hour, there's like you can't find any good fruits. It's just like supermarkets. Um, but yeah, I came here to do work trade on a farm, on a small organic farm for about 5 months. And I learned so much from these like master farmers that they've then like 30 years farming, and learning about uh, bio-intensive farming and just doing a lot of like farm work. And I've felt so good, like being outside all day, harvesting my own tree ripe papayas and eating all these amazing fruits. Then more recently, I found a raw vegan store, and they also have like a market on Saturday where they make nori wraps,
Oh, wow.
and they've been in business for like 30 years, like perfecting like raw vegan gourmet food.
Was that,
And
I saw, I think I saw you in a post at the Glazer. Was that the
yeah, Glacier Farms. Yeah.
Glazer Farms? Yeah, I've been to that stand, I believe. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, they've got loads of raw vegan stuff there. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, it's incredible, like the things that they make here, like the desserts, and they make these pates out of sprouted almonds. Like everything is like the highest quality. Like they have almonds from Europe that they sprout, and they make sprouted European almond butter. um they make like the most incredible, they make like nori crackers where they put the pate on the nori sheet and dehydrate it, and like just amazing stuff. So I fell in love with Glacier and the owner there. So I've just been working with them like over just a little over a month now, and it's just really really a good time.
Really cool. Um, so when did you start putting stuff up on Instagram and online and doing videos, and what made you want to do that?
Yeah, actually I think my first YouTube video was like 5 years ago or something, like maybe more than that. Like when I first started fruitarianism and getting into like juice fasting, I was really into that for a while, and I do attribute that to my success, like getting at least like starting out on the fruit-based diet. I wouldn't say it's like a good thing in the long term, to like go extended periods of time on juices, but maybe like some short-term things, or if you're just getting started, so you can introduce a lot of raw foods into your body.
Sure.
But yeah, I started like 6 years ago. Instagram maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and the reason why I started was I wanted to document my journey on this lifestyle. And to be honest, I have a terrible memory from like years of drug use. So it's cool to look back and like, oh, this is where I was like, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and like see my progression. So it was, I mean, it was also for me, it was, to connect with people as well, but it was also to like, for me to see my journey, and to like be more, so I could experiment and see like what works and what doesn't work.
Sure. Sure. Now, something that I wanted to bring up, um, I think at one point and I don't know the details around this, so hopefully you can fill us in, but like there was a point where you were posting some pictures and you were quite slim, right? You're pretty skinny, I would say. And
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first things I started to come across you. Actually, I was seen some pictures, and I think I was maybe a bit like concerned for you at the time, like thinking, and I don't know if it was like the angle of some of the pictures. It might have made it look different to what the reality was. But was it a point where you got quite underweight on the diet, and was there any reason for that in particular, or have you got any reflections on why that happened, or what
Yes.
point?
Yes. So it was a lot of things that led up to that moment. A lot of like mindsets that I was stuck in at the time for like my ideas about detoxification and kind of like an obsession with it, and dry fasting in particular. So I would well, I mean, when I was in India, I got hit by a car.
Right.
I was crossing the street and I got hit by a car, and like it messed up my foot really bad. My toes were like bent out like this. And I had this idea at the time. You know, this is just an idea. And I was like, oh, okay, I can just dry fast for like 23 hours a day and just eat like a very small meal at the end of the day. And then that would like accelerate the healing process. That's what I thought. And, you know, maybe fasting did accelerate the process. It probably did in some sense, but like in other senses of my health were degrading. So it had some pros and some cons. Like I was super dehydrated, not good for your body. But I was essentially laying in bed most of the day, just laying in bed and not doing anything for like weeks. And it was also like rainy season in India. So a lot of the farmers won't harvest fruits or like coconuts or anything. So it was hard to find. I was living in the jungle, like doing work trade at this this hostel in Goa. And I was like really far from any markets. It was very difficult to find fruit, and I was very against eating cooked food like what the rest of the people were eating. So I was just kind of you know, stuck in this like this mindset and like all this fasting, and that's when I got really skinny. And I remember you know, a lot of people were reaching out to me concerned, and I was so stubborn. I was just like, no, they're wrong. It's just part of the process. And like I remember trying to get up onto a bus in India, and I could barely get up without like pulling on the handrail to like get up onto a bus. I was so weak. And what really helped me was Fit Shorty, which actually I met up with them in Bali and in Borneo, and they're just the most amazing people. I love them. But they helped me because after India, I flew back to Borneo for the fruit season. So once I came to Borneo, I got to be able to refuel and refeed my body with like the best foods. And they like I started hanging out with them, and we started like, you know, I started eating like they do. They eat a lot of fruit, like a lot. And I started realizing that that's what I needed to do to thrive on this lifestyle, not fast and restrict calories to like accelerate the detox process or whatever.
So, but it sounds like prior to that point, you were eating enough, and you knew what to do already for many years. What was it? What was it that led to that mindset? Was there any particular thing you'd learned, or was it a person that had been suggesting that, or was it something you'd kind of worked out from your own experience that made you want to do the fasting and stuff?
Yeah, it's there were a few people. I think like Dan McDonald talks about it a lot, and yeah, I was getting into like very deep states of like meditation, and you know, it was more like a spirituality thing, and like I felt very like I guess connected with the universe, and you know that's amazing too. And I think that's one of the most it's a beautiful thing about fasting, but there's a healthy time to fast and an unhealthy time to fast. And when you don't have a lot of reserves on your body, that's very dangerous. Like if you go below 2% body fat, I think your body starts to eat its organs. So I could have gotten to that point, and I'm very happy and very grateful to be here today, because I have friends that have died from breatharianism and you know, excessive dry fasting, and it just brings up so much emotional trauma and like stuff that comes up that we're just it's just too much for like it's just too much to handle. It's too much.
What are your thoughts on detoxification now and that kind of mentality, and also dry fasting? What do you think about that overall?
Personally, I think dry fasting is not smart at all. I think that we've been like dehydrating ourselves for decades. Most of us, you know, have been dehydrated from the processed foods, the
Right.
standard diet, and this is why I promote juice fasting and juice feasting, to put it in like a different sense, because you know, some people who do a juice fast or whatever you want to call it, they don't drink enough to get their calorie needs met. And this is not, it's actually better to drink more. You want to drink at least a gallon a day if you're doing a juice fast, and it helps flush better, and you're getting the more nutrients you need. Get some, you know, green juices in as well. Those are really helpful for sodium and different minerals. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
Dry fasting. Oh no, yeah, you're already talking about that. But I guess do you think I guess I want to ask, do you think that the detoxification idea can go too far with people?
Yeah, I think often it does. And realizing that like every day we're exposed to toxins, and every day we are detoxifying. You know, we have a liver, and you know, when your liver functions well, like I feel like I healed my liver actually. I did some juice fasting on green juices, and I think like after that I could actually digest fats a lot easier. I used to not be able to digest like avocados, nuts and seeds. Of course, now I soak and sprout my nuts and seeds, which I think is one of the best things we can do to like digest and assimilate that. But yeah, the detoxification, especially in this community, it can get excessive.
Sure, yeah. You also mentioned breatharianism there, and you mentioned that you knew people that had passed away from that, which is very sad.
Yeah.
Have you seen much negative side? Well, maybe we can talk about that a little bit, but have you bumped into or met other people that have had negative experiences with dry fasting, detoxification, and veganism? And do you want to talk about any of these things or mention them as
Sure. I think I'd like to like there's a difference between dry fasting and breatharianism. Like there's definitely energy like cultivation practices you can do, like qigong and different like breath work to cultivate energy. And that's the thing about breatharianism. That's what I think sets it apart, like from dry fasting. Like you can just dry fast, and some people think that's breatharianism. Now to be clear, I don't think it's possible to be physically active and not consuming any liquids or food, or just food in general. If you want to, like, if someone wants to be a monk and maybe like sit in a cave for like months, it might be possible to be a breatharian. I don't know. I don't really want to be a monk. to be honest. I like being physically active, and I think having food and fruits to fuel that is is optimal for me, and I think that we're frugivorous animals, and animals in nature, they only fast when they're sick or when they're hurt. Okay, and they drink water when they're sick or hurt. Even when they're fasting, they go to find a stream.
Right.
But yeah, I guess that's my thoughts on that.
You had, I think you had mentioned there that somebody you'd come across that passed away as a result of fruitarianism. What were the details around that? Was that because of just under eating so much, or was there some other side effect? Or
yeah, it was definitely the under eating. He was also struggling with some mental disorder that I'm unsure about, and yeah, there was also with Robert Lockhart. I'm pretty sure you're aware of him, right?
yeah, of course, yeah. But,
so like what happened with him was his can you hear me all right?
it's just went out a little bit, but it's coming back.
Okay. So yeah, with Robert Lockhart, I actually met him in Philippines, and he was like really inspiring guy. Like, he was walking around on his hands, climbing coconut trees, like crazy stuff, and he was just so active. I think one of his downfalls might have been that he was so active that he didn't know how to rest. He was out in the sun all day, like the beaming sun, and he would do long dry fasts as well. I remember like a couple of weeks before his passing, he did a 70-hour dry fast, and they found that his kidneys shut down. The kidneys are like 70-80% water or something. They need fluids to work properly. So I was, it was just really sad because he was such an inspiring man, and I just think he could have been here longer, if maybe he didn't like dehydrate himself so much and like the search for detox or whatever.
I mean, my take a little bit with that was, from what I heard, he received an infection from working in his garden, which is not common for people to get infections from plants and things, and from the soil. And we always we think about nature being this really loving thing, but there's so many dangerous things in nature as well, and it's common for people to get infections from soil and plants and other things, and these can be really dangerous.
Sure.
And my impression is that instead of going to the hospital and getting antibiotics and things that might have helped, that he certainly didn't do that straight away, and I think he might have been dry fasting and things that would have made it worse.
Right.
I'm imagining that all contributed and came together. So it's sad because people will say, "Oh, there's a fruitarian that's passed away," but there's more to the story that some people, and as you're saying, like they found his kidneys were not in good shape.
Definitely, and maybe he didn't have the best immune system. So people, older people are more prone to infection.
Yeah. I think he already had a weakness in his kidneys though as well from a younger age. I think that was something that maybe inspired him in the first place to start changing his diet from years ago. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I love the guy as well. Like I met him a bunch of times. I never got to hang out with him in the Philippines or Australia. I really wanted to do that, but he always talked about the Philippines as being his favorite place, like Davao, places like that.
I visited his farm, and it was just amazing, his property there.
Yeah, really cool. Do you think it's very hard to stay? You mentioned some of the benefits in terms of meditation and things, but do you think I seem to feel like people struggle with their mental health when they start to eat less and when they start to do fasting, and like it's hard for them to stay balanced.
Yeah.
But maybe your experience is different. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what that is, but it's definitely a thing that emotions come up more when you're under eating. But I think I don't know, I feel like the brain can't function as optimally when you're not getting the nutrients you need. So a lot of people throw around this term like emotional eating. Like, oh, I'm emotional eating. It's like, well, you're a lot of people live a stressful lifestyle. So if they weren't emotional eating, they would never eat. You know? So in this sense, I would say emotional eating is better than not eating. You know, but of course, we could have like a good relationship with our food. Like if we're maybe really stressed after a long day and realizing that, oh, I'm not really hungry. Like I don't have a hunger sense in my stomach and I'm just eating because I'm stressed, or maybe you're bored and you're not really hungry. You're just like wanting to eat something. That's different. So like realizing that rather than, you know, eating out of necessity rather than emotions or stress or something like that.
Sure. Cool. So you moved on from there. You got together with Fit Shorty Eats, and you were eating more, getting back to getting back to kind of your normal weight, I suppose, or a healthier weight.
Yeah, it took a few months.
Did you notice any major benefits or changes in you mentally, emotionally? How much energy you had? Was it like night and day difference, or?
Yeah, it was definitely night and day. I was just like, it was kind of like a duh, like why didn't you realize this earlier? And then like after 3 months, I was starting to build back the weight, and my energy started like just like a little kid again. I would like jump up 5 a.m. and you know go to sleep at like 9 or whatever, just with the best energy and just go nonstop all day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. So that I guess that takes us forward to pretty much today. So you're in Florida at the moment, doing a bunch of stuff. And what do you think about where you live in Florida? And is it a bit of a community out there, or are there people out there you can hang out with that are doing the same kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, at Miami Fruit, there's a lot of cool people. Actually, the place I'm living now is like kind of a, I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's a property with like 2 houses, and then like some people have tents and RVs. It's like a 2-acre property, and there's like a bunch of people that live here. But most of the people here like eat a majority like fruit-based diet. Maybe some cooked here and there, but there's a couple people that are fully raw. And yeah, the thing about Homestead, Florida, it's amazing for the fruits. The accommodation is like a little difficult to find something.
Okay.
There's a lot of farms, and like if you're wanting to do like a work trade situation, there's a lot of those opportunities. There's some farms like hiring. You can make like $15-16 an hour. But yeah, the accommodation's a little difficult here. And yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like Homestead is like one of the most beautiful, like very peaceful places in Florida. We're near the Everglades, which is like a huge, like
Yeah.
like huge forest, mangroves, and like alligators and all these beautiful trails to walk, and the most like clean spring water. It's just it's an amazing place to be. But the only thing is like the farms here. Are you still okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I
I
was,
thought you froze, but you weren't frozen.
yeah.
The thing about Florida is it's all on limestone. So like even the ground here, it's maybe like that much until it's limestone. So it's kind of difficult to grow things here unless you take time to like build the soil or you bring soil from somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
So you got to keep that in mind with a lot of the farming practices here. Like the farm I was working on, they put mulch down and they let it break down for like years. They put like a foot, 2 feet of mulch and just let it break down to like build the soil, because otherwise your roots aren't going to have anywhere to grow and you're not going to get very much nutrients. Some fruits do really well in limestone, which is more acidic, I believe, a more acidic soil. But some fruits definitely like cannot do well here. And a lot of people think South Florida is tropical, but technically it's subtropical. It's zone 10B. So when you're trying to grow like things in the farms here, like you can't grow like rambutan, for example, durian.
Yeah.
You can't grow a lot of the tropical fruits. You can grow some, like papayas grow amazing here, in the subtropical environment. The only place that's tropical, if you go all the way down to Key West, like the last island is tropical. But there's not really any farms down there, which is weird. But yeah, I guess that's just something to keep in mind if you come to Homestead.
I think I get the feeling, pardon me, that a lot of people assume that tropical places are immediately going to be good for fruit and that there will be local farms and farm stands and farmers markets and that it'll be very easy like that. And I don't think that's always the case or that it's always as automatic as that. And there'll be plenty of tropical places as well where fruit is not the main food that is grown there, and they might grow rice, or they might be growing, you know, coffee beans or tea, or like there's so many other crops that they might be actually growing. So
Yep.
it's not always as obvious the case that it's all kind of local farms and
you know.
Uh-huh.
Sorry to interrupt. You know, my friend just got back from Mexico, and she was surprised. Like she was like, the fruit's not as good as in Florida. She had all these expectations around it because it's more tropical. It's in the tropics.
Yeah.
In Tulum area, and I know a lot of people that go there for fruits, and she was surprised. It's not like the highest quality. They have fruit, but not very good quality.
I had that experience in Mexico as well. I also felt like the price was quite similar to the US. I didn't think it was much cheaper, and it's people forget that when you go to places, people are eating cooked food all over the world. So when you go to a tropical place, they're still having, like, I think it's funny when you're in Thailand or some of these Vietnam, some of these places, like you can go to a local market and they're frying things in oil, and it's like the fumes and the heat that's coming off it, and you're like, the place is already hot, like the weather's already warm, and people are barbecuing, frying in oil, and it kind of goes against this idea that people think that, well, I'd probably let your take on this, but people think like, oh, if I go to the tropics, I'll be able to be raw vegan easily and it'll just be automatic. And unless you're already kind of doing it, it's not as, I don't think it's as automatic as people seem to think.
Definitely.
Do you think you can be raw vegan anywhere? Do you find it pretty much easy wherever you go?
I mean, I think you could, like when I go back to Seattle, I probably will still be raw, and it might not be ideal, and you might not get, maybe I'd supplement more greens when I'm there to get more nutrients, because I feel like that's what they're there for. Like when you're in a cold environment, you still have many like options. and maybe some more like nuts and seeds when I'm there, because like the fruit, like the minerals in the fruit are not there. Like even for example, when I went to Borneo and I had like these fruits grown in volcanic soil, I wasn't even craving greens. Like I actually do crave greens like a lot of the time. And I think that's my body telling me I need these certain nutrients. And when I was in Borneo eating like the best fruits, like wild fruits, I wasn't even craving greens, and I feel like I was getting everything my body needed. But yeah, it's definitely possible. Like in most places in the world that have you know, supermarkets, especially Asian supermarkets, those are amazing. And you know, like you said, the farmers markets, if you can get local, if you have local fruits available to you in season, that's going to be the most ideal. But you know, it's okay to eat imported bananas or mangoes if they're, you can still find very high quality imported fruits. And I don't think we should restrict ourselves so much to just local, especially if you're living in these type
Yeah.
of environments. You know.
What do you think about supplementation? Have you ever done any actual supplements, or do you use any supplements regularly?
Yeah, I did experiment with B12 and iodine. Um, but what I learned through blood testing is I don't need them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found that my I mean, I believe that when your gut is healthy, that you can utilize the B12 from the foods you eat. And you know, eating dirty foods and getting the bacteria on your foods and not worrying about like super cleanliness, I think is important too for the B12. And I do eat seaweed pretty regularly. I think that's good for you know, iodine, and I feel called to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, uh, cool. So let's get to where you're at now as well. So you're helping people with some coaching, the book. Do you want to talk about some of the things you do?
Sure. Yeah, I do offer health coaching. It's like a one-on-one kind of thing, and we can do like a video chat, kind of like we're doing now, and just like just really provide a lot of like guidance. Like if people need, you know, like I wish I had this like when I started, to be honest, because like it's just nice to talk to someone who has been there and like who
Sure.
knows like what you're going through. And yeah, I just don't want to see people like fall into the, you know, the under eating thing, or like not getting enough this, not getting enough that. And I just want to help people get like optimum health. I've helped some people like reverse their candida, get rid of candida problems. And yeah, it's just, it's what I want to do. And I think everyone deserves health, and everyone like deserves to feel like the energy and like the happy mood. Like it's just it's everything. So I wrote this book. It's called Thriving as a Fruitarian, and it's just all the tips, tricks, like everything you need to know how to like budget, how to you know, make sure you're stocked on fruits, make sure you have like enough variety,
Yeah.
greens, salads, some recipes, and yeah, I just really want, you know, people to experience this.
Nice. Sorry, you've paused a little bit there. Give me a, okay, good, you're back. Cool. Well, thank you very much. And where should people, if they want to follow you and find out more about you, where can they go to learn more?
And thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, I'm at Raw Bliss 95 on Instagram, and my YouTube is Raw Bliss Fruitarian. I've been kind of slacking on the uploads lately. I used to do daily uploads, daily vlogs, and I have a bunch of trial my via Thailand. So yeah, Raw Bliss. Actually, I think in YouTube, if you just type in Raw Bliss, you'll find me. And yeah, just on Instagram and YouTube these days. Facebook, me a few years ago for like talking about health.
Okay, cool. Well, you cut out a little bit there, and so I'll just repeat that. So at RobBliss95 on Instagram and Rob Bliss Fruitarian on YouTube. So thank you very much for Austin for joining me today. I want to thank everyone for listening and watching. Please share, follow us, and go to fruitfest.co.uk to learn more about the UK festival, the Fruit Festival in the UK. And yeah, we'll see you in another episode of the Love Fruit podcast. Thank you very much, everyone.